When I was in school, I was raised upper middle class, you know what I mean? Once I started using, even then, I played on a high school football team and smoked a little weed and drank, you know what I mean? I wasn't a jock, I wasn't, a stoner, I just, used recreationally, I guess. I moved out of high school, and me and my buddy, we moved to Rapid City, South Dakota. It's 1996, and we smoke pot and we drink, and that's it. We have a pact that we're not going to use any other drugs, not ever. And then the drinking more, and then the smoking weed more, and then the harder drugs came into play. The guy that we got our weed from said, "Hey, have you ever seen this?" We talked about it, and I was like, "Man, we said we were never going to do this." I said, "Oh, let's just try it once." You know what I mean? So we took a quarter gram, we split it in half, and we each snorted a line. And we went back 2 more times that night, and when I went back the 3rd time, the guy told me no, that he was out. He wasn't really out. He just seen that I already, on my first night ever trying it, was going way too far. People would warn me, this path you're headed down, you're going to end up going to jail, and you're going to go to prison. I always tell them, guys like me don't go to prison. I mean, I'm raised upper middle class. My family had a little bit of money, you know what I mean? I never wanted for anything. When I turned 16, I got a vehicle. It wasn't a nice one, but I got an old Jeep to drive. You know what I mean? I always had clothes to wear and food on the table, and I wasn't raised from a horrible background or anything. I was just an everyday, average, ordinary kid. And then one day, wrong place, wrong time, you get the Joint Drug Task Force comes through the door, and this little lifestyle you're living comes to a horrific end. The thing was, there were no consequences. You know what I mean? You go out and you buy a bag of weed and you roll a few joints and you smoke it. There's no consequences. You drink with your buddies on the weekends, you don't get pulled over, you don't get a DUI or an MIP, there's no consequences. But the thing is if you choose that lifestyle and that's the road that you take, and you're trying to fill some void within yourself, or you think that it's not going to cost you in the long run, it is. Because it'll catch up to you, it'll creep up on you, it will tear you apart and take you to a rock bottom that isn't a pleasant place to be. I heard a guy explain it to me one time. He'd done 22 years in prison. He said it took him 2.5 minutes. It cost him 22 years of his life. So in 2.5 minutes, you can screw up the next 25 years of your life if you don't think about exactly what it is you're doing, where you're going, and what you want out of life. When you were spending your gas money or your food money on beer or on weed or on other things, you started to see how the priorities shifted, and drugs and alcohol started becoming more important in my life than things that should have mattered. I mean, there's consequences and repercussions that I got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old that have known me for about 120 consecutive days now. I just haven't been in their life, you know what I mean? Is that the kind of dad you want to be? You know what I mean? They want their dad home. They didn't do anything to deserve that. So I hurt my wife, I hurt my kids, I hurt my mom, my grandparents, I hurt my whole family. You think that recreational use doesn't hurt anybody? Oh, I'm not hurting anybody but myself, and that's nobody's business but mine. You're wrong. You're hurting everybody. You hurt the whole community. The lifestyle, you think it's cool to run around and sling dope and not have a job and get up whenever you want and do whatever you want. Who do you know that you respect does that for a living? In the start, there's no consequence. I mean, you go out and you smoke a little weed or you drink on the weekends or whatever. There's no consequence for that. You don't get pulled over, you don't get a DUI, you don't get an MIP. No harm, no foul. But I'm telling you that it snowballs, it grows, it sneaks on you. Pretty soon, the next thing you know, what is recreational use becomes more everyday use, and you become more dependent, and then you become more open-minded to other drugs and alcohol, and it starts to chip away at you and eat away at you, and pretty soon it will destroy you. And I consider myself to be a pretty strong person, and I've spent the last 18 years self-destructing. And for the first time, I'm just now getting a handle back on my life, and I wish that wouldn't happen to anybody. If 500 or 1,000 people see this video and just 1 or 2 stop and turn around and go back from this path that I've walked down, then this was worth it. If you feel like your life's going nowhere, if you don't have goals and aspirations, if you don't know what it is that you want and how you're going to get there, go find somebody and ask them. I mean, it doesn't have to be mom and dad. Go to a friend's mom. Go find somebody at your church. You know what I mean? From wherever social circles that you come from, go find somebody that has the things in life you want and sit down and have a conversation with them. Sit down and tell them where you're at and ask them how you're going to get to where they're at. What do I need to do? Because if you do nothing, you're going to get nothing. If you don't choose to move forward in your life and progress and work towards a goal of success, towards acquiring things and whether it be a degree or a company or a position or a family or whatever it is. If you don't work for it, life is just going to happen to you. And it's going to continue to happen to you until you become proactive and do something for yourself. If you choose to just lay down and let drugs and alcohol and addiction run your life, you're going to run right into the ditch. And you'll hit rock bottom a lot of times before you realize this isn't what you want. And you can be 18 years behind everybody else trying to start from scratch and build a life.
My name is Dustin Hyatt. I'm 35 years old. Just got paroled 21 months early on a 6-year prison sentence. And I'm home. Been home for almost 120 days. I'm 5 years in recovery, and I'm starting my life over again.